Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Om Ganana Antva Ganapati Gumhavamahe. Kaving Kavinam Upashravastamam. Jeshtrajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashrunvan Notibisi Dasadanam. Om Shri Buddhi Siddhi Shakti Sahita Shri Mahaganadipate Namo Namaha. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha. Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Shri Hanumate Namaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 21st of March 2025. I want to offer my Anantakoti Namaskara, Dandavat Pranam, prostrations to all the great sages and to Bhagwan residing in the heart of every single being. With that bhavana and prarthana, we are continuing to examine Bhagavad Gita, verse number 39, chapter number 4. The verse is Shraddhavan labate gnanam tatparah sanyate indriyaha gnanam labdva param shantim achirena adhigacchati. What is the heart of this verse? That is Shraddha. That is the first word in the verse. Shraddha is the foundation. It is the mother of all development. Shraddha Sarvesham Mata. In the scripture called Satsangi Jivan, इसमें बहुत सुंदर बात लिखी है कि श्रद्धा सर्वेशाम माता. Mata means the mother, the root, from whom the womb, from within which everything develops. Without Shraddha, nothing is possible. So what is Shraddha? Again, there is quite a few number of ways of trying to grasp this. Shraddha meaning faith, that what the Gita is teaching us, what Shankaracharya ji has written in Vivek Chudamani, the Sadhan Chatushtay, the variety of different ideas in Vedanta, that this is true, that what is written in the Sat Shastra is correct. That is why it is called Sat Shastra. Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad, Brahma Sutras, the commentaries of the Acharyas, and the different paramparas that are in alignment with that or further exposition of that truth are real. That they are darshanas, they are darshan shastra. You can see the truth. Darshan means to see. So to open the vision from inside, to see the satyam that is in front of us, that is within us, that is around us, that perception of satyam, real, that which is real, and that which is true, that perception, that opening from inside is possible through Shraddha. That is why Bhagavan Krishna Paramatma beautifully states, Shraddhavan labate gnanam. Right? Shraddhavan. In Sanskrit, van means one who possesses. Shraddhavan. You see? Buddhivan. Like this, one who possesses intellect. Bhagavan, one who possesses the 6 opulences. That is called Bhagavan. So Shraddhavan is one who possesses, one who has, and one who holds the quality of Shraddha inside oneself. This is the foundation. Now let's go into that a bit further. Let's take an example. Let's take an example of Sri Krishna. That's in the Sanatana Dharma. So many devotees are there of Bhagavan Krishna. So how did that happen? There's history behind it. But Shraddha develops inside, that what the Gita is saying is the Vangamay Swarup. It's the Vani Swarup. It's the Swarup of Sri Krishna only in forms of words. Point number 1. That conviction comes, that is called Nishta. Nishta means conviction that this is correct. When Krishna Bhagavan says in the Gita that the Atman is real, that the Atman never dies, one gets convinced through the teachings of all the gurus and acharyas that ye satya baat hai. It is just a conviction. One might say, no, I don't believe that, I'm not sure, this and that. Then, okay, that's fine too. Then one has to try other things to see what, you have to explore the truth still. So that nishta, that this is real, this is true, is a big thing. It's not small. This is called nishta. It is called Bhagavat Swarup Nishta. It is conviction that it is so, that when Krishna is speaking and when he says that I am Bhagavan Purushottam, that Parabrahma is Sri Krishna. This is conviction. Jo Bhagavan Krishna ke bhakta hai, they use the language of the Gita for the conviction. And then the acharyas that have come. So many parampara. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Vallabhacharya, Nimbarkan, Ramanujan, Shankaracharya, everybody. Everybody has accepted the Gita, right? So they have all talked about it in their own way. These are further developments. But the point is that the verses of the Gita are absolutely as it is. Not because Sachin is saying so, or because I'm telling you to believe that, but it would be your realization that yes, this is exactly like this. कि जो भगवान कृष्ण जो कहते हैं वो ऐसा ही है, इसमें कोई संशय का स्थान ही नहीं. Now notice, Sachin here humbly is not trying to convince anybody of anything. Yes, I have my own, this sevak has his own perspective. But this is not about proselytization to convince others, to convert others or anything like that. No. It is to encourage each person to do their independent sadhana, study, and go through the process and see what is Shraddha. Shraddha bhi ek anubhav ka vishay hai. Shraddha is not something, that all of a sudden you start believing something, you're not really sure, but okay, I believe it somehow. No, that is a very superficial kind of faith. That doesn't take one anywhere. That will cause a lot of confusion, in fact. Shraddha needs to develop through anubhav. So anubhav happens. How to explain this? There's always a starting point. There's always a spark inside. That turns into the Jnana Agni. Then that turns into the big fire, right? For example, a big forest fire doesn't happen just like that. It starts with a small match. There has to be like the two stones rubbing together. It's a spark has to be there. Then the fire begins, right? Isn't it so? Similarly, when we do satsanga, we go through the scriptures, keep listening to different ideas, and do our own manan chintan, eventually a spark happens inside. It happens. I see that it's a perception into the truth. That is what we're looking for. It's like rubbing the two stones together. That spark opens up. That spark, a vision opens up. For example, when Bhagavan Krishna says, Ya Nisha Sarvabhutanam Tasyam Jagrati Sanyami, you say, oh my God, the world is asleep just in the three gunas of Maya. And there's something much beyond. This is all very limited. That's a spark inside. Just Sachin saying that doesn't mean anything by itself. I mean, that's fine. Is it true? Is it sparking from inside? Is there that sense that, oh, this is, I see it. My first person, my seeing the truth, that this is the case. That the three gunas of Maya, Sattva Gun, Rajogun, Tamogun are there. We can see that they're there. And then there is the possibility of the Atman. That makes sense. It might make sense intellectually. Then it might make sense through some kind of emotional state. It would then resonate inside. It is called resonance. That resonance, once it begins, then the conviction happens that this is true. That is nishta. And from that nishta meaning that belief that this is the case, from that further sadhana is done, further connection and contemplation is done. And then Shraddha is born. Shraddha is born, meaning that emotionally, mentally, intellectually, in every way, there is the latching on with the conviction and the certain level of sparking and anubhav that this is so, that what Bhagavan Krishna says, it is correct. That is my shraddha. Abhi anubhav nahi hai pura iska. So there's a beginning spark, and then the full anubhav comes later on. That is why Bhagavan Krishna in this verse says, Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. The jnanam of Vedanta, that comes later on. But it begins with the development of Shraddha. Paripakva, in Gujarati we say Paripakva Nishta. Paripakva Shraddha. Paripakva means ripened. The ripened Shraddha. Not just, thoda Bhagwan ko mante, thoda karte, yes. Not like that. Really, to question, tat vidhi pranipatena pariprashtena sevaya. In the Gita, Bhagwan Krishna swayam kehte hai, ask questions. Get the doubts cleared. Keep asking questions until it is absolutely clear, but with humility, with the vision of wanting to evolve further, not just this kind of questioning back and forth just for the sake of asking, throwing endless number of questions without any intention to progress inside. That is called that is not called samvad. That is called vitandavad. Samvad, Bhagwan Krishna and Arjun ka samvad hai. Samvad meaning Arjuna is Shishya, Krishna is the teacher. And there's a samvad going on that with tremendous humility. Bhagwan Krishna ke aage wo baithte hai in chapter 2 and he says, I am your Shishya. Shishyaste teham. I am your disciple, I am your Shishya. Guide me please, I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. I cannot see the truth. And Bhagwan that accepts him, Krishna accepts him as a Shishya. This is called Guru Shishya Parampara. So, and then Bhagwan Krishna himself says, you have to ask. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena. There's, say, 3 points. Pranipat means what? To first, with respect and humility, touch the feet of the teacher. This is what we say, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma. Guru ka kitna mahima in schools and teachers, in colleges, everywhere. Always respect the Gurus. The books that we study in the colleges and universities. Without Guru, nothing is possible. Guru is everything. But the Guru meaning that being, those scriptures, and for us, all of us, the massive Guru Paramparas are there in the Sanatan Dharma. What a blessing. They have taught us, that they are teaching us. And that becomes very relevant because, see, Arjun can only surrender to Krishna and say, I am your Shishya, when he knows that Krishna is beyond, Krishna knows something much, much beyond him. Krishna is sitting in his own, that Maha Ananda state. He's always in that enlightened state. Arjuna says, I'm not in that state. What's wrong with me? I'm confused. I've got all this delusion going on. Vishad, Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So there's a recognition of the master, recognition of Sadguru, recognition of Paramatma, Pratyaksha Paramatma. This is called in Gujarati, isko hum kehte olkhan. Mota Purush and Bhagwan ne olakwa. It's called olkhan. Okay, so it is through that the pranipatena pariprashtena sevaya. There are 3 points. Pranipat means to prostrate, to touch the feet of the great sage and say, hey Prabhu, I'm confused, I'm not sure, but there has to be a recognition that this is a truly awakened sage. In our case, we're all doing sadhana. So we go through the scriptures, we have so many Guru Paramparas are there, so many things are there. So we can do it that way. Now the way it is done is a little bit done differently. There are, no doubt, there are gurus in life, but it's difficult sometimes to meet them and all that. So then we have to go another way to go about it. Use scriptures, use mantras, use the murtis, things like that. And if an actual physical guru is fully enlightened guru is present, तो बहुत अच्छा है. वो तो बहुत ही सुंदर बात है. But all of us who are bhaktas, we can always meet together on the and do satsang together. So that is the beauty of the devotees coming together and then contemplating this script. That's how it's done in most places, and that's fine. That's also okay. You see, so when This pranipatena pariprashnena. Pariprashnena means ask questions back and forth. Try to probe into the satyam. These are all initial steps before Shraddha is born. See, even before this verse can even be touched, verse 39 of chapter 4, isko sparsh hi nahi kar sakte until we have done all this background work. All this background has to be there. Pariprashnena, that to really probe into questions. What is the Atman? And actually, is there really a difference between mind and brain and Atma and consciousness and what's happening inside of me? And all those kinds of questions are asked. So that is how Shraddha then ultimately is born. That the Guru is giving the Brahma Vakyam, says, you are Brahman, you are not this limited body, this limited mind, this confusions, the dream state, and Swapna Avastha, this Avastha and that Avastha, all that thing, that is not who you are. You are not that. You are that, but what you are not. That is how the Upanishadic rishis discussed all of this and explained all of this. So, this tad viddhi pranipatena. Tad viddhi means to understand. Tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena. Pariprashnena means back and forth questioning. Question answer with humility, with respect, with listening. It's not like, okay, you're telling me something, kya bakwas baat chal rahi hai. Not like that kind of negative attitude or just some argumentative attitude. No, not at all. In fact, it's never good to have that attitude with anybody. It doesn't help us at all in life. So that's why the word samvad is a very divine word. Bahut divya shabd hai ye samvad. Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Yoga Shastre, right? Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. What does it mean? Samvad is this beautiful relationship between the truly enlightened being and the one who is seeking enlightenment, one who is seeking the Brahma Vidya. That is called Samvad. How beautiful. So tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena, and then the third component is sevaya, seva. What is this seva? Right? It can be interpreted in many ways. But seva in the sense that to assist the great teachers in the path that they are trying to show. That is why there are so many religious and spiritual organizations. People are doing seva in them. Right? So seva means that they are serving the world through the teachings of the gurus. And this is true in Christianity, Judaism, Islam. It's true in Hinduism, in Sanatan Dharma. It is called seva. So that's seva meaning to do the seva. And that's from the Upanishadic time. I'll just take a 30 seconds here and we'll stop. In Upanishadic times, the Shishyas would do seva for the ashram. They would collect wood and they would set up everything for the Havan, and they would do so many things for the Gurus. And then the Guru, so because it is a way of respecting the spiritual path and doing service to the society. It's not simply that one can just live in isolation. No, one has to serve the society. But without ahankar, without any kind of ego, to be in the modality of seva. So this is the third component. So when all three components are present, tad viddhi pranipatena, that's component 1, pariprashnena component 2, and sevaya component 3. When all three are present beautifully, then Shraddha is born. Then the Shishya is prepared. There is the preparation of inside the mental space, inside one's life, for the opening into the Brahman, that I am the Brahman. The Mahavakyas eventually come about. But that again happens through Shraddha. The Shraddha opens, the faith opens. And then there is no doubt. When doubts are gone, Shraddha is 100%. And Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. And then Bhagavan Krishna कहते tatparaha sanyatendriyaha. The senses become stabilized. Mind becomes बहुत स्थिरता आ जाती है. पूर्ण स्थिरता, पूर्ण शांति, पूर्ण पवित्रता, पूर्ण एकाग्रता, ये सब आ जाता है. श्रद्धावान लभते ज्ञानम तत्परः. In the moment it happens. When Jnanam opens up, immediately there is all stability. पूर्ण स्थिरता, मन इंद्रिय प्राण सब की स्थिरता हो जाती है. अमेजिंग बात है सब. This श्रद्धावान लभते ज्ञानम तत्परः संयतेन्द्रिय ज्ञानम. Through that same ज्ञानम लब्ध्वा obtains. What is the अनुभव साधक का और जो ज्ञानी है उनका जीवन में कैसा अनुभव है? पराम शांतिम. ज्ञानम लब्ध्वा पराम शांतिम. पराम means the ultimate purna peace and realization, ultimate shanti. श्रद्धावान लभते ज्ञानम तत्परः संयतेन्द्रिय ज्ञानम लब्ध्वा पराम शांतिम अचिरेणाधिगच्छति. That goes into the infinite reality. This is extraordinary. You see the power of the Bhagavad Gita. When we really go into the probing, the entire path is shown so beautifully. ये भगवान कृष्ण, जिस कृष्ण भगवान का जो विग्रह है, when we see the vigraha, the murti in the mandir, and when we are sitting with the Gita, with the commentaries of the Gita, we have this verse in the mind, and it is a conversation with Ishta Devata. भगवान कृष्ण के साथ conversation करना मंदिरों में, घर में. And this is how the sadhak, the bhakta and the Bhagwan, their connection is built. It is building the connection between the two through the scriptures, through the gurus, the shastras, the scriptures, the mantras and the stotras. They are the connecting mechanism between the mind, the Atman and the Paramatma. Okay, so with that we'll stop here for now. Om वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा. ओम दिव्यलिंगाय नमः, ऊर्ध्वलिंगाय नमः, आनंदलिंगाय नमः, द्वादश ज्योतिर्लिंगाय नमो नमः. ओम त्र्यंबकं यजामहे सुगंधिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्ष्यमामृतात्. ओम ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डाय विचे. ओम ग्लौं हुं क्लीं जुं सः ज्वालय ज्वालय ज्वल ज्वल प्रज्वल प्रज्वल. ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डाय विचे ज्वलहं सं लं क्षं फट् स्वाहा. या देवी सर्वभूतेषु महालक्ष्मीरूपेण संस्थिता. नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः. ओम दुर्गे दुर्गे रक्षिणी ठ ठ स्वाहा. ओम श्री कृष्ण शरणं मम, श्री कृष्ण शरणं मम, श्री कृष्ण शरणं मम, श्री कृष्ण शरणं मम, श्री कृष्ण शरणं मम. ओम श्री राधा कृष्णार्पणमस्तु. ओम ह्रीं स्वाहा.